I'm Tony Russo, and this is In Case You Missed It for the week ending Friday, October 3rd, 2025. So much stuff to get into this week, and I'm really looking forward to some of the things that will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'll tell you all about that after this word from our friends and sponsors at Matthews International.
For more than 20 years, Matthews Aurora Funeral Solutions has been providing innovative technology to support funeral professionals and their families. Their Arranger presentation system makes showcasing service and merchandise options simple. Family Connections technology enables families to participate in arrangement planning from the comfort of home. And the Advisor system combines case management and interactive planning, all in one place. Simplify the arrangement process with technology designed for you. Visit MatthewsAurora.com for a free demo or call 1-800-457-111 today. That's MatthewsAurora.com or 1-800-457-1111. Call today.
Speaking of Matthews International, they had a bunch of news. Like the last couple of weeks, they've been making different non-funeral related announcements. They had some big printer thing that went through that was a very exciting deal for them. But this week was kind of the capper, and it was the hopefully final resolution of the Tesla lawsuit. Now, as you recall, or you may not recall, because this has been going on for a while, but we haven't really mentioned it in almost 6 months, I think. Tesla was suing Matthews International, saying that Matthews stole proprietary information from them on dry battery when they were working together. Matthews disputed this, and over and over again, arbitrators, courts, everyone on the whole planet, except for the folks at Tesla, has affirmed that that is the case. So hopefully this is the last time, but there has been a decision that Matthews includes, Matthews continues to be in the right and will be able to continue to offer its dry battery product to other non-Tesla customers. This could be a really, really big deal. Now, I mean, it should have already been over, but if this is really the end, it could do a lot for Matthews stock, which, you know, one of the things we keep reporting on is mostly supported by the cash flow it's able to generate from memorialization. So in the next story, we're going to talk about a different way that solar or, non-traditional power is affecting death care, but in this case, it's neat to see, and I hope they do well, and I hope this is the end of it. Something I don't really feel like I ever want to talk about again. So, for regular listeners to the podcast, and please subscribe if you haven't, I have a show coming up where I talk to American Cemetery and Cremation editor Tom Nondorf about a bunch of different cemetery things, and almost joking around, I said that I was going to go to some of the cemeteries by me and offer them some trees, because I live in an area where the cemeteries have been developed a little bit more recently, the ones outside of families and churches, and those tend to be these great expanses of open land where the sun is significant, I guess, in the summertime. And the reason we were talking about that was there's a recent story out of Japan that I shared a couple weeks ago where some of the people are moving their loved ones, their ancestors, into columbariums so that they can visit and not be so much in the sun. And that's just been kind of on my mind lately, this idea of, for people who want to spend a lot of time in cemeteries, and as we talk about different ways to get people to spend time in cemeteries, making it not uncomfortable is one way to do it. So that's the background, what was in my head when I read the following story out of Belleville, Illinois. The decision to install a solar farm at Mount Hope Cemetery in Belleville was driven by the need for the cemetery to earn money. So the cemetery wanted to cut down about 19 acres of trees and use that for a solar farm. And a local activist is against it for lots of reasons, probably because they're against any kind of development at all. That's the kind of thing that tends to happen. But rather than have the solar farm, they would like to make the cemetery keep it a cemetery. Now, one of the things that is clearer, obviously, to you guys because you're listening, is that the cemetery's perpetual need fund is in trouble, according to this story, and this is one of the ways they hope to bail themselves out of that. And I don't want to sick any of our perpetual need care people on you, but if you are not paying attention to your perpetual care need fund, now's the time to double check on that. So they're going to see if they can keep the cemetery from rezoning, because it is zoned for a cemetery, and this would be a commercial use. And there's all sorts of weird implications for when you turn something that is zoned for a cemetery into commercial use, because you also set a precedent, right? And so even if this is a quote green unquote solution, it could be trouble for other cemeteries down the road or other neighbors down the road if they can say, well, this cemetery was allowed to change to commercial, industrial, and now we want to put up, I don't know, a brewery and a strip club here on the cemetery grounds. The other thing, though, and this is facetious, but only a little bit, if you have one of those great, huge, expansive cemeteries, I wonder if you wouldn't do well to combine it and to have, those, if you've seen the parking lots where all the cars park underneath the solar panels. Imagine being able to visit your loved one in the rain or in the beating sun and having the protection of overhead in some of the sections of cemetery. What I would suggest, if you're looking for some planning advice from someone who knows literally nothing about cemetery planning, is you put one of those cemetery platforms in an open space on your cemetery and use it as a sales point. We can have your loved one buried here, and whenever you come to visit, you will be in the shade, and they'll be helping do their part to generate electricity to help run the cemetery and the rest of the town. I'm like 2/3 kidding about that, but it's exactly what came to my mind when I saw this story about the NIMBYs versus the cemeteries who haven't done enough to protect their perpetual care fund. So again, none of my favorite people are in this story, but it's a story in the show notes, and it's absolutely worth taking a look at. So there is a story this week from Albany City, Georgia, about a body mishandling case that really just more inspired a different line of commentary that I would like to discuss. But in this case, when the family showed up to have the funeral, the body wasn't there yet, and the funeral home wasn't ready, and according to the story, at all. Like, it didn't have power, it didn't have water. I guess it was new. And they were waiting for the body to come from where it had been sent for embalming. And that's really what kind of rang my bell more than this kind of mishandling. It's not even mishandling. It's just the body wasn't where it was supposed to be, and it took too long to get there. And I think I mentioned this last week, but it may have been the week before. We were talking about how people, how a future vision of embalming is going to probably have to include embalming centers, and how it's very common in in many cities now, where there's one center where the bodies are being embalmed because a lot of funeral homes don't have the volume of embalmings to keep an embalmer and funeral director on staff. And again, this is in places where you can have one or the other. You don't have to be both. But I don't think it's a secret that that's probably the direction that the industry is heading in. And in this kind of transitional period, I'll bet it is not that unusual for the body to show up a lot closer to the funeral than makes the funeral home comfortable. I mean, this is obviously a case of, poor timing on someone's part, but it's something that is going to have to be increasingly taken into consideration. How do you ensure that the body is back in time? That's one more thing to be in charge of when you don't have on-site embalming. So there's a link to the story if you're interested in the show notes. But more interesting to me, and I again would love to hear some feedback, is how you deal with these kind of last-minute problems where the body either doesn't show up or maybe running a little late, literally late for their own funeral. So if you have any stories like that, I would love to hear them. If you have any insights into how that could happen, if you work in an embalming center and you would like to talk about the different safeguards maybe that are in place to prevent, not getting people to where they belong on time, I would love to hear any of those stories. And you can reach me by reaching out below in the email section of this post. So I just finished up a story that you'll see in Funeral Service Insider, the newsletter, in the next couple weeks about the Cincinnati College of Mortuary Sciences, which added Kent State as a partner and put together an online program to accommodate people who are farther away in the state than was convenient if they wanted to get their funeral director license. And right on the heel of that, there's another similar announcement that I wanted to share with you. Goodwin University, which is in East Hartford, Connecticut, has launched its online accreditation program for funeral service. And it very much follows the same kind of idea that we've gotten used to with online programs, where people can do some at the school and some at home as is necessary. Connecticut certainly isn't nearly as big as Ohio, but there are lots of interesting twists and turns in it. I've actually already been in touch with the folks at Goodwin University, and I expect to have something out for you guys in the next couple of weeks, just an introduction to how they're doing things and what it means for hopefully the expansion of new funeral directors coming into the industry from schools where they wouldn't have been able to before. This is, I think, is an important part of loosening up, and also probably the beginning of generational funeral directors, first generation funeral directors, being less and less rare. So again, we can take a look at that and take a look at that in the show notes. There will be a link. So Pennsylvania is going to take another crack at passing alkaline hydrolysis. It's not something that has gone through in Pennsylvania, although it's passed, as I understand it, the House of Representatives twice so far, I think in the last 4 years. But so this time they're once again have sent it to the Senate. When I posted this story on LinkedIn to share, someone mentioned that this was getting killed in committee by someone who was not for alkaline hydrolysis. Let me put it that way until I can get more research done, because I am following up on those comments and hopefully we'll have a story on it. But for now, we're going to be hopeful-ish that Pennsylvania will have enough clear-headedness what I wrote in the initial post is that I think it's bananas that this has to be passed, let alone, passed state by state by state in the 21st century, because a lot, just like with my friends in Minnesota who are just terrified of having, people buried in the ground without caskets, a lot of this is just superstition and tradition making people too scared of something that is new. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the rest of the world that may want it done. I'm working on a story in my own home state of Maryland where where Bethesda has just passed alkaline hydrolysis, because the geniuses in Maryland passed it and they got all the headlines, alkaline hydrolysis legal in Maryland, but it has to pass county by county. It's not zonable in Maryland, just legal. And, that is, just another little tweak that we don't pull out of the headlines. For instance, there was a New Jersey headline this week that said you can literally be turned into compost now. And of course, you can't in New Jersey literally be planted in the ground because there's no one to do it yet. So a little loose and fast with the headlines, something I've been guilty of myself. I don't truly begrudge it, but in this case, I think it's important to keep everything in front of us. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to shout out Representative Abby Major of Ford City, because she is a funeral director and a co-sponsor of this new bill. And this is the quote that I'm going to pull out from this, the Center Square .com is the article where I'm reading this from. And she said that people don't want to talk about dying and death, but I think our job as funeral professionals is to provide people the closure that they need. And if that's something people want, then I think it should be an option for them, said Major. So this is apparently bipartisan. I do not know if it's truly being held up by one know-nothing in the Senate committee, but I am looking into it, and when I find out, I'll let you know. That will do it for me for this week. In case you missed it, From Kates-Boylston is a Kates-Boylston production. It was written and edited and videoed by me, Tony Russo. Please check out our video page. It is on YouTube. You can find more than just my great big dumb head there. There's lots of stuff worth seeing on our YouTube channel, including past webinars that we have made free to the public. And they're all, I think, worth seeing. Speaking of webinars, we have a virtual event, the Funeral Technology Summit, and that is coming up on October 15th. So that is in this coming week and a half, I guess 2 weeks now, but it'll be here before you know it. You should register because we will be speaking with Cole Waybright. He is the Vice President of Sales Optimization for Homesteaders Life Company, and he'll be talking about breaking silos, maximizing efficiency with integrated technology. I'll actually have a link to the brief introduction I did with him a couple of weeks ago to kind of outline what this virtual event's going to be about, but it's something you definitely don't want to miss. Other than that, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, any suggestions, whatever you need me to know, I need to know it. Please make sure you reach out to me. You can email me. My email address is arusso@kbpublications.com, or you can just go to the website and you can find me there. I am Tony Russo, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. We will catch up with you next time.